I define Liga MX as the shoot your shot league.
You do expect higher performances and better things from Club Americas, but it's the inconsistencies. With the
Isn't this inconsistent though?
I will maintain that the U.S. men's national team came out to the knockout round despite terrible coaching.
Like, they have a student discount maybe to go to football games? Like, they got it, right?
No.
To take that next step, I think it's still undisputed that you have to go to Europe.
He's going to be on the ground for the majority of the time. No,
I
look back at highlights.
That's the Christian Pulisic treatment, though.
Same.
We're going to have to stop this. We're going to start arguing on this podcast, aren't we?
Welcome back to the Real Futbol Show. I'm Geno Gonnello, my co-host Edwin Garcia alongside me here. We got a lot of action to talk about in the MLS this week. There was, everything you could have imagined. Postponed games, coach firings. There were upset victories. There was everything you could have ever imagined in the MLS this weekend. So many storylines, so much to talk about. Before we get into it, as always, Edwin, how are you today?
Doing all right, man. I was trying out my celly. I want to do like the arrow pointing. I'm trying to point at the camera and then just release the arrow. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that one. That looks cool. Damn, you reached back there. You did all right, I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Long wingspan.
I was a goalie. I never got to celebrate, so I scored one goal in my professional career. I was on the world's ugliest penalty kick. But I ran off like I just won the World Cup afterwards. I was kind of just like a madman. But yeah, we were up 6-0. So yeah. How's you? How you doing? How you been?
It's been good. It's a busy time of year right now for the MLS. So there's a lot happening. Teams getting first wins. Of course, we have Liga MX, which is in the middle of the playoffs.
Oh man, can't wait to get to that
in a little bit. We will get to that. Don't you worry. You can stay tuned to find out how our picks did. If you listened last week, you know how our picks did. But before we do that, we do need to hit on the big topic right now. This one off the pitch. There were a couple coaches fired this past weekend. First, it was, on Monday they were fired. First, it was Gerard Struber of the New York Red Bulls. He was fired after the Red Bulls had failed to win a game in 7 straight matches. They've only won 1 game all year. They fell to last place in the table with their latest defeat to Philadelphia Union and their 1-0 loss. And then the other coach was Struber and Hendrickson in Chicago. They got thumped a little bit this past weekend by Nashville, 3-0. This comes after a bunch of results in a row where they failed to pick up all 3 points or even a point because of late or poor play late in games and inability to defend the net. So, obviously, both those teams have already named interim coaches, and those interim coaches will be their coaches throughout the end of the season. But we'll start with the Red Bulls. Was it too early for them on Struber, or was this warranted?
This is way too late, to be honest. This was like, you have what happened to him and what happened with this player and the way he handled that. That's grounds for termination in my book. With what happened with Van Zier, right?
Yeah,
make sure I pronounce it right. A few weeks ago, knowing, hearing, seeing everything that happened, and then just deciding to pull an Urban Meyer. For those, football reference guys out there, just, pretend like you didn't see anything and just go ahead and who cares? And worst of all, you didn't win anything. So you did all that for nothing. To me, it was overdue, but it's kind of no one to blame but yourself, man. No one to blame but yourself on that one.
Yeah, I think it was at the point where they definitely needed to part ways. Like you said, the situation with Van Zier is one in itself which was not handled correctly. And we don't know what internal discussions have gone on. We don't know, how the players have reacted to this and if this is still affecting the players. But when you don't win and you handle a situation poorly like that, it's just a recipe for disaster. And I think, like you said, the way he handled it in general, the situation was probably cause for suspension, firing, whatever you want to, whatever you feel, some sort of punishment, but add that to the losses, and that's how we get to where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Moving on to Chicago, though, for them, was it too early for Chicago to fire Ezra Hendrickson?
I think it was early, and I feel bad because we were just talking about Chicago as like, maybe on the come up, with the goals that they were scoring, and we kind of I think you even mentioned it last week, like, could they be a top 4 team had certain things gone differently? And yet here we are, just a week later with no coach and just, man, hard times for Chicago. I do think it's quick. I still stand by what we said last week, which is that the team has the pieces, has the players. We talked about Kai Kamara, and what an asset he's been since he's gotten there. And I mean, if they didn't have him, it'd be even uglier right now, but they do. I still feel like, and that's a good city, man. I've been to Chicago. It's a fun time, man. And it's crazy to think that they're just struggling this bad. So, but yeah, I think it was a little early.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it was early too. Like you said, when we were talking last week, it felt like they were there. They just needed to fix up some defensive, effort in the final, 10, 15 minutes of games.
Yeah.
Like I said, they could be in fourth if they were able to see out all these games, and they just weren't able to. And it's a lack of points. And then they go and they get absolutely thumped by Nashville. I think Nashville had 30 shots, 11 on net.
Hani hat trick.
Yeah, a Hani hat trick. I mean,
an MVP.
Yeah, it was just an absolute mess out there, and maybe that's the final straw. I mean, I did see something earlier today also that was a really good point. At some point, the continuous late losses or late giving up of goals has to fall on somebody, and that it probably falls on Ezra Hendrickson for not being able to figure it out, and I guess that's why they fired him. But I thought Chicago might have had something brewing, especially since the fact, yes, they're in 13th place now, but they're on 11 points. They're only 3 points out of a playoff spot, and they're much better than I think a lot of people expected them to be.
Yeah.
So I was kind of shocked that they fired him. We've talked about a couple other managers, Phil Neville, Losada, and how we thought they would be gone, and here we are today, two coaches gone, and it's neither of them. Both of them actually on the uptick. So
yeah, I didn't have these guys on my bingo card of who's going to get fired first, man. This was a big surprise. I also think it's funny that, like you said, it was 7 straight losses for
7 straight games without a win.
7 straight, games without a win. Man, Phil Neville was so close. He had 6 straight losses.
He had 6 straight losses.
Man, 7 was the lucky number. If only we had gotten to that, maybe Miami fans would be a little happier. But we'll talk more about Miami later. But yeah, I surprised. Not the 2 guys that we thought would have gone, first, but that's MLS for you, man. It's MLS. What I enjoy is that it really changes throughout the season. You're gonna have your teams like your LAFC, and even in recent history, it's rare to see the team go start to finish in MLS. There's usually, you'll have these dips in performances. It's not like, for instance, Premier League right now, for comparison's sake, that they have Arsenal and Man City have been 1-2 pretty much
so
for most
dominant.
Yeah, and they just dominate, and then they get on their runs. MLS is not like that, but we're starting to see that a little bit with LAFC and their run and how they've been very, very successful now here for a year and a half. But it's enjoyable and it's fun because any given Sunday or any given Saturday, any given weekend here in MLS, you can have some incredible results like we saw this week. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, there were some, there were some unbelievable results this weekend. Lizzie talks so often about the chaos in Liga MX, but there is a little bit of chaos here in the in MLS, not maybe to the extent of Liga MX, which we will also get to in a little bit. But there is a little bit of chaos, lots of fun all around. Before we move on, though, one last question on this. Are you expecting any major differences, any major changes? Is this a move that can help either team out in the future?
And that's a great question, but it's hard to answer. This all depends. I don't know what the mood is in the locker room pre and post canning of said coaches. I hope that in the Red Bulls case, this fires them up and makes them better due to past incidences and stuff like that. But with Chicago, like we said, I kind of feel for them because they were coming up. They had some stuff there. Kind of feel like Ezra didn't get a fair shake, or long enough leash there on his job. But you hope as a fan of the Fire or the Red Bull that this will be the change. But if you're changing coaches and you're in last place, like you can only go up from here or stay where you're at. So you can't get any lower. So we'll see. But hopefully those franchises, we're talking New York and Chicago, two big, big markets here that in tough times right now. So it'd be good for the league if they get back on track and, start getting some dubs.
Excuse me. Yeah, for sure. I think, in my opinion, I think the chance for a bigger impact lies with the Red Bulls, I think, because it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks. I think they have a very solid team, but I think a lot of the outside off the field stuff has ended up distracting them and now gotten them on this sour run. And maybe some of the players don't feel, as close and connected to Struber as they did before this incident. And there could be a bunch of internal things. So it'll be interesting to see Red Bulls for sure, because I think there could be a major impact if that was the case inside the locker room. Chicago, I think maybe might have the opposite effect, where it felt like maybe a lot of the players were buying into this and they were building something and it just wasn't working out right away. And now they fired the coach and things will be different again. And maybe they won't buy into this, or they'll be kind of turned off a little bit. So I think it might have the opposite effect with Chicago, but it's tough to tell right now if there'll be any major differences because there is no new coach. They're both interim coaches who presumably I believe were both part of the staffs already. So maybe not major in that aspect. So, but you did mention that there have been upsets this week, and we do need to talk about a couple of them. First and foremost, we need to talk about LAFC. They lose their first match of the season in MLS, 2-1 to San Jose Earthquakes. They did lose a game in the CONCACAF Champions League, but that one was a bit of a fluke because they probably didn't play anybody because they were already up 4-0 or whatever in that game. But yes, they did lose one match already this is their first match in MLS that they've lost. San Jose at home getting the win. It was interesting. I was looking through the head-to-head between these two teams because I would have assumed that it would have been very LAFC heavy. But it was not. Like, this is San Jose's first win in 2 games, but before that they had won 4 matches in a row, I think.
Wow.
So, and I don't think there's been any ties between these two teams in the history of it. So, that was an interesting tidbit I found there. But LAFC lose their first match. What do you think was the factor in this one?
Man, I got to give props. We both got to give props to a certain Lizzie who had San Jose as a dark horse this season. And we both kind of looked at her like, yeah, what does she know? She has no idea what she's talking about. But man, here they are. They're right outside the top 4 in the West. They came in with the game plan, took out the big kings of the West. They'd be creating a whole shakeup. What is it? Christian Espinoza?
Espinoza, yeah.
He can ball. These guys, they've bought into the new coach. They've bought into everything. You go in there and you don't fear the Giants, the defending champs, and you play them hard like you did. I'm going to turn around the question and ask you another question. Did LAFC lose this game or did San Jose win the game? Because that's the question that's always asked when a big dog gets eliminated or a big dog comes down.
For sure.
And LAFC is one of those. So did they lose the game? Was there something off on them, or did San Jose just go in there and just, sock them in the face and take it from them?
I mean, listen, stats don't tell the whole story. I mean, LAFC had control of the possession and had more of the shots on net. San Jose scored on 2 of their 3 shots on net. But listen, I mean, I think San Jose is good. I think San Jose played a good game. I mean, the only goal that LAFC scored was really off of a spill from the goalkeeper. It was a mistake more than anything else.
Yeah.
So
Buanga too, by the way.
Yeah, and Buanga. Yep, and Buanga. But I think LAC had a lot of the possession in this game. I think that they had a lot of the chances, but at the same time, San Jose had to, do what they had to do. Espinoza, they went up early. They went up in the 8th minute and they held
Only
that
the
lead.
second time. Only
Yeah,
the second time LAFC's been trailing all season long, which was, this game. So
yeah, and a lot of the momentum went towards LAFC, but if you trust XG as a factor, LAFC's XG was only 1.19 and San Jose's was 2.34. Obviously, the penalty plays into that a little bit, but it was pretty even in terms of scoring chances. So,
yeah.
I think San Jose has been very good and very solid. And this is coming after, I think I have to look back, but I think San Jose's had a little bit of a tough stretch. Yeah, they lost, or they tied Austin. They actually lost in their U.S. Open Cup match against Monterey Bay FC. And they lost to Real Salt Lake in the past 3 matches. So this is coming off a little bit of a slide for them, and it was good to see them bounce back and find form again. Lizzie said it. I mean, Lizzie's been, hitting the nail on the head all season with San Jose. Lucho Gonzalez has been phenomenal, and they've done a really, really good job. And it's been very impressive from San Jose so far this season.
It is. I think it's just interesting, like you mentioned, LAFC's trailing for the second time all season, going down early 8-0. But then what happens? That was the 8th minute, 30th minute, a Bouanga goal. Like, come on, it's a Bouanga goal means LAFC is gonna win. It's just the beginning of a stretch of more goals probably coming from Bouanga. So props to San Jose for weathering, the storm that is that LAFC attack, and then winning the penalty late, converting the penalty, and then holding off at the end. I think that was very telling. I'm going to say that, to me, San Jose won this game because you had all the elements of a proper LAFC game, proper LAFC win, things that you've seen before. Like I said, I go back to the Bouanga goal and just their possession and everything. But San Jose saw a window. They took advantage, and they walk away with the 3 points and little bragging rights right now, state of California.
Yeah, I mean, they are the best. I mean, if you go by results, they're the best team in California.
Yeah, man.
They're like right behind LAFC. They're in 4th. LAFC is in 3rd. They're tied on points. The only difference is the goal differential. LAFC has 9. Has a goal differential of +9. San Jose a +1. But yeah, San Jose's right there, and really, if we're 11 games and we have enough of a sample size, right? Yeah. And of course, when you look at the LAFC schedule, there are 2 games on there. They have 2 games in hand over San Jose and over Seattle, who is above them. 1 game in hand over St. Louis, who's above them. So
yeah,
an opportunity for them to move in the top of the standings, but.
Absolutely, but what you maybe can start to see a glimpse of here is San Jose with their 18 points. Next after them is Dallas with 15. Yeah, maybe now we might start to see that top 4 separation in these next couple of weeks.
It's interesting, right? Because it's like when you look at the standings, there's so much. San Jose's played 11 games, which only 4 other teams in the West have played.
Yeah.
Or 4 teams total in the West have played. No, 4 other teams have played. 5 including them. So a lot of teams with games in hand, right? So Houston Dynamo have 2 games in hand right now. They're on 14 points. If they win both those games, they're on 20 points. There's a lot still to be determined. So
they still got to score a goal on the road. Did they do that this week? I don't even know.
Oh, they didn't play this week. They
were off. Yeah, they still got to win something on the road.
Yes, they do have to win something on the road. Yes, they did play this week. My bad. They did play this week. They did not score a goal on the road.
Good.
They played Real Salt Lake.
Oh no, they were
0-0.
They were home. Another. Wow.
Okay. Another clean sheet.
Another clean sheet at home. Good grief. They didn't get the win.
I mean, they're unbelievable at home.
They're 5-0, 4-0-1 at home, and haven't given up a goal all season.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I honestly didn't realize that when I was looking through it. I was like, oh, a 0-0 draw.
That went quiet. But yeah, and they got 2 games in hand. Okay, all right. Well, maybe they might be in the mix. It's gonna be interesting. That 4, 5, 6 little region in the standings there. It's gonna be a good fight all season.
Houston, Seattle this weekend, which will be a fun one for sure. Yeah. I mean, Definitely an interesting one. And speaking of Seattle,
Yeah.
they were another team in the West that had a big loss this past weekend. Sporting KC took on Seattle in the Sunday match, the standalone Sunday match.
Oh, I loved it.
Sporting
Matinee.
KC
Sunday
yeah, I do
matinee.
too. Honestly, I really do like, just a real quick aside here before we get into, I really enjoy like a good afternoon match, then all the 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30
Yes.
action, and then another Sunday match. Gives me a lot of time to really separate. I can focus on 3 different games
Yes.
and really get it all,
I'm
all
all
the
for it. We
MLS I
need
can
that.
want.
Yes, we
So
definitely
I
need
like
more of
that.
that. MLS. Yeah, MLS needs to do a little bit more of that. They need like, just like you said, give me that 1:30 or 3:30 afternoon East Coast Saturday, then the full slate of evening games, and then give me a nice little Sunday matinee or a Sunday night game. Give me that. I'll
Which
take
we
it
do
every
get this week. We do get this week. We get a 1:00 game on Saturday. Oh, the whole slate on Saturday night, and then we get a Sunday match as well. So we don't get that.
Do we get a 1:00? Oh yeah, we do. We have the St. Louis Chicago one. Oh,
Yes,
thank
St.
you,
Louis,
MLS.
Chicago is 1:00.
Soccer gods have blessed on us this weekend.
But yes, we do get the 1:00. We do get the 1:00 game on Saturday, a 9:30 game. So quick aside, but the scheduling this week we like.
Yes.
But yes, back to Seattle. Seattle, they lose to Sporting KC. Sporting KC had not won a game all season up until this point, but at the same time, this is the first game that they've played with all 3 DPs. For the first time, this is the first time they played with all 3 DPs on the field in like 600 days, they said, I think, on the broadcast.
Wow.
It was over 600 days. So
that's crazy.
Almost 2 years since they've played. Pulido finally back. He gets on the score sheet, scores a goal. Eric Tommy and Kinda, the other 2 who were DPs who played in this one. Tommy also, I think Tommy got the other goal.
Yeah.
Seattle lose though, and this is a little bit of a slide for Seattle now. Is just looking at their schedule. I think this is their 3rd straight game where they haven't been able to pick up.
Well, if you don't count
all 3. No, Minnesota.
Yeah, they got that wasn't very. They've since that 4-1 drubbing in Portland, they've gone. They had the bounce back win against Minnesota at home.
Yeah.
Then high scoring U.S. Open Cup game. They're 5-4 against San Diego, and then the scoreless draw, and then this bad defeat here. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no, I mean it was. I mean it's been interesting for Seattle, but Sporting KC finally get over the hump. They finally get their first win of the season. Things may be looking up now that they have Pulido back and they have all 3 of their DPs playing. It's they mentioned on the broadcast, it's hard to win in this league without having all of your three DPs available week in and week out, or most of the weeks in the MLS.
Yeah.
So good for them. Is this a catapult for the is this catapult for Sporting KC now to bigger and better things, or is there still a lot that needs to be figured out before they can find a form that is consistent and can get them back to where they're normally used to being?
Yeah. Look, I like KC, but hey, let's pump the brakes here, man. It's just 1 win, first win of the season, 11 games in, or however many games they've played. You finally got your 3 DPs together, but I also expect a lot more from the rest of the guys, on the squad, on the roster, to step up in their absence. And if they haven't been able to do it, that's telling of the team in its totality there. Great win, solid, good. Can you find your moral victories? You got all your guys back, and you build off that. Yeah, you're Kansas City, man. You got great fans, great atmosphere, great history. You should be able to bounce back, but at the same time, man, I hate to sound cliche, but what's the best ability of a player is availability. And if you haven't had your main guys for so many days be able to play together, and when they finally do, you start seeing it. But for the other 600 days, you saw how bad it was. You gotta, man. You can count on those guys, but it's the other guys on the roster that really need to step it up. And hopefully, this win will put them back in gear and they can move forward, because it can't just be all on the DPs, man. It can't. You gotta have play from all your guys. You gotta have some people. every time somebody goes down is an opportunity for somebody to step up and really take control of a position, of playing time, everything. And it feels like there's been plenty of opportunities in Kansas City to do that, and they haven't. So it's good win, great win. They beat, overrated Seattle, so I'm good with that. But I'm not gonna say that they're catapult yet. So, hey, baby steps right now.
A couple stats that I found interesting. Looking at Sporting KC, this is the first time all season that they've scored more than one goal in a game, and they've only scored
horrible.
They've only scored one goal in 3 other games, so they've scored 5 total goals. So this is a team that definitely needs help in the scoring aspect, and they seem to have gotten it this week in getting a couple goals. But yeah, 5 is not in 11 games.
Whoa.
And
wait, hold on. Time. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you just brought that up to my attention too. They got almost 50% of their total goals output from the season in one game. No, it's not a catapult. They have many, many problems, and they have a long way to go to get out of it. I take back everything nice I said about them.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think also they have 3 red cards this season as well. So defensively, they've been very, very bad. They've given up 16 goals defensively, which is sorry,
it's on the upside of the league. Yeah,
it's on the in the Western Conference. There's only a few teams that have given up more goals, and when you only score 5 goals and you're giving up 16 goals, that's a big issue. And for me, I can't see it being an opportunity for them to now catapult into something, because their upcoming games are difficult. Obviously, they have US Open Cup match midweek, but on Saturday they have Minnesota, which, listen, Minnesota is not great right now. I think they're win this in their last 5, but it's still a difficult match because Minnesota is a tough opponent to break down. Then they have LAFC, St. Louis, Portland, FC Dallas, and then they get Vancouver and Austin. So really,
never winning again.
There are 5 next games. They're going to be difficult games to win. So
let's rephrase the question. Will they score a goal in their next 5 games? Forget about wins.
I'm not sure. Maybe against Portland. Because the other defenses are actually pretty solid. So.
Man, I'm sorry. I really hate to be bashing KC fans out there, but come on, man. Dang.
Yeah, KC. I mean, they got some tough ones coming up. So I can't see it happening. I can't see it happening where they catapult themselves here. I think this is a good win for them, a good win for morale.
Yeah.
But I think otherwise, it's probably a lot of nothing. But we'll have to see. I don't know. Maybe we're wrong. We're wrong about a lot of things.
Yes, that's
maybe we're wrong.
The Real Futbol Show. We're wrong about a lot of things. That's the slogan.
Yes. Moving from a team that's looking to turn around to a team that has seemingly maybe turned it around. I don't know. Maybe it is. We'll get your opinions. But Inter Miami win again. They win for the second time in 2 games. They beat
3 in
Atlanta.
All yeah.
Yes, 3 in all comps. They beat Atlanta. Josef Martinez gets his first minutes against his old club since transferring to Inter Miami. Comes on in the 57th minute. Scores in the 59th minute by way of penalty, scores in the 75th minute, and it earns the game-winning goal against what ends up being the game-winning goal against Atlanta. Hasn't scored a goal all season, scores his first 2 goals against his former club. I guess the question is, we'll start with Josef Martinez. Are you shocked that this is the game that he got his first 2 goals in?
Oh, man. I was hoping it wouldn't get to this point, when we got him, because he's been sitting on 98. Also, props to Joseph, fastest guy ever to 100 goals in MLS. Yes. And he was sitting on 98 for what felt like 3 seasons, like it felt like forever that the guy was just sitting there waiting through injury, just could not just, bag a goal, man. Like sometimes guys, like my friend always says, man, sometimes people win on accident. Sometimes people score goals on accident. Like that guy couldn't get anything going. And for him to get in there, I thought he came in the 57th, and then you had the penalty right away, and I was like, oh, it's got to be him. Like this is you give it to him. It's on a platter. Hey, score, get off the schneid, put it in there, and you saw instant results. A little bit later, he's vintage if you saw the goal there, a little vintage
Yeah.
Josef there coming in with the from the
somehow
weird
gets
angle.
it around the goalkeeper.
Somehow, yeah. And props to Kramashi not coming in and sliding and tapping it in and poaching the goal like some people would, just letting it roll in for his 100th there. So yeah, I think, man, you got to have a strong mind to be a striker in any level of professional soccer or football. You got to be in the right mindset. I don't think he's been in the right mindset. Sometimes you see guys come back from these horrible knee injuries and they don't miss a beat. You know, look at other sports. Adrian Peterson rushed for like 2,000 yards in the NFL after having, blown out his knee ACL, and he did it within like 6 months of his surgery. Some crazy stat line. I think Russell Westbrook has not lost a little bit of any of his explosiveness in the NBA, considering he's had like 2 of these surgeries and 1 on each knee. And then you have guys that just never come back. And I don't know if it's a difference in sport. Maybe because you look at a phenomenal Ronaldo. He blew out his knee, never got back from it. Here we have Josef coming back from that. I'm hoping, I'm confident. He's still young. I hope he has the right mentality that he can, you just needed that one. Just give me that one goal. And then he got 2. And the second one especially was more vintage style. It wasn't, served up on a platter. I hope that we'll start to see. Will we ever see the same dominating Josef that we saw before? I doubt that. I really do. But give me 80%, 75% of that old Josef Martinez. And I think it'll be a great help for Inter Miami, and it'll definitely be a great help for Major League Soccer, because the guy, he's a talent, man. He's a talent. Love to watch him. Must see. When healthy, must see TV.
Yeah, I mean, again, you mentioned it, 100 goals in 142 games it is, which is 17 better than Bradley Wright Phillips, who held the record at 159 games.
When did he score his 98, though? I'm telling you, I feel like it's been a long time.
Oh, I honestly, I don't
I'd have to look that up after.
We're going to have to look that up. But yeah, he is. I mean, listen, I guess the answer to my question would be, for me, I wasn't shocked. He just seems to show up in the big moments. He's a big moment guy. It's honestly, it was a storybook. It was a storybook writing, the way it all worked out. He was, obviously very appreciative to Atlanta, loves Atlanta in the post-game press conference, but inside he was a little bit like, okay, I'm happy if I had to do it in anyone, I'm happy I could do it in this one.
For sure.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is there any chance, so he's currently at 100 goals, which is, I think, around 15th in MLS. Is there any chance he reaches anywhere near the peaks of Landon Donovan and Wondolowski? No, right? I don't think so either. 174 goals is a lot of goals. He would have to.
Had he not gotten hurt, because we obviously see that it has affected him, And shout out to Chris Wondolowski, supporter on our socials there with retweeting
Thank you, Chris.
Our stuff there. Big fan of the show, I heard.
Yes, big fan of the show. It is crazy though, man. Fastest to 100 goals, and we're sitting here and we're saying there's just we don't think there's any shot he can get to 174. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. But 29 years old right now. I mean, we'll see what those legs have left
on the list. Do you have the list there by any chance? Because I don't have that in front of me.
Who's next behind what?
Who's next up for him to who's maybe in the 110 or 120 section there? Is that where would that put him? If he gets 120, would that put him in the top 5 or
so? If he got 120, if this we wrote an article. Let's see, was it Lizzie who wrote this article?
I believe that was Chris.
Okay. Chris wrote this article last year about this time on the top all-time goal scorers in MLS history. Obviously this has changed a little bit since or let's see, is there well, obviously Kai Kamara's moved up the list a little bit, but yeah, this is the right list. So Chris Wondolowski is at 171 goals. It seems. Landon Donovan 145. 120 at this exact moment would put him just above Bradley Wright Phillips who had 117.
I think he could get there. I think he could get to that 120. And then if he
I would think so
stretches
too.
out the next few seasons, yeah.
I would think so too.
And Higuain got like 10 goals last season or something like that, and coming off the bench a lot too. So very similar position, similar role. But I feel like, this guy's younger and can find that youth again, or that energy and that explosiveness that made him such a threat for so many seasons.
You think a Kai Kamara can get there? You think Kai Kamara gets to 170?
I'm never gonna count out Kai Kamara. That guy's gonna play till he's like 67. Like,
Dude, I think he has 140 something. Let's see, career stats. He has goals. Where's goals? Goals. Here we go. He has 143 goals. So I think he's. Oh yeah, that's right. Because they said this the other day. He's 2 away from reaching Landon Donovan at 145.
Yeah, he's gonna get there.
He's got. If anybody could get there, if anybody could put in a 30-goal season at 39 years old, it's Kai Kamara.
He could do it.
But yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy to think about the fact that Josef is one of the best goal scorers we've seen in the MLS. Quickest to 100, and we just, I don't know. I don't think there's any possible way. But again, we did the same thing with Bradley Wright Phillips, right? He was the quickest before Josef Martinez, and he had 159 games, and he only had 17 more goals than Martinez has right now. So it is crazy. I mean, 171 really speaks to the legend of Chris Wondolowski and his MLS career.
Yeah,
I mean, it truly was unbelievable how potent he was for the Earthquakes. But crazy stuff.
That dude was just consistent.
Yeah, consistent, man. That's exactly consistent. Last thing I want to ask you on this. Compare your feelings from last week to this week. How do you feel about this Inter Miami team?
I mean, we didn't get the Campana goals this week, but I felt like Inter Miami played really well against a team that's been on a bit of a schneid now. They're dropping. They're all the way down to 10th in our power rankings this week. Atlanta United, but that was a tough matchup. I didn't think they would be in the win column at the end of the game before the game started. I thought they still had to prove a lot. They came in there, they played the way that you think they can play, that they're capable of playing. The problem here is that we've been talking about these coaches getting fired, and what's going to happen now is that Phil Neville somehow is going to turn these 2 wins, 3 in all comps, into like a 6-year extension. Like, it's not official yet, but it's going to happen. I feel like that's next up on the news ticker, on the alert here, is that Phil Neville signs an extension thanks to these wins here. Like, that's all that guy needed to do. It's just a couple of wins, and he'll be here for way too long. But it's a long season, just like we said about Chicago, just like we've said about Kansas City. Miami has the pieces. I stand by what I said last week. They have the pieces. When you see the right guy up front, they can make it happen. And now if you get the other guy that's up front and Josef Martinez, maybe this sparks a little bit into him and he finds some of that explosiveness. That could be a scary team. It could be a very scary team moving forward. But we're still where we are. We got a couple of good wins right now, and then we had those 2 wins to open the season, right? And then there was just a lot of in the middle. So we'll see. That's how I feel about it. But looking forward to. They got the Revs this weekend coming up, so see how they do against them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is a big step in the right direction for this Inter Miami team. I think, it's a big win for them. I think, again, I want to talk a little bit about Atlanta after this because I have some opinions on them and how this has gone so far this season. But getting goals from your strikers was a big thing that Phil Neville was talking about, and that's what they've been getting the past couple weeks. So, like we've said, and like we know, goals are so important for strikers' mentality. And when they see one go back in the net, it's like a shooter who's off in basketball, right? It's like when they see one go through it, it's something clicks and it seems to spark something. And they have the creative playmakers now. Kramaski and Ruiz are 2 young players who have been performing really well, stepping up, homegrown players who have been key to this team now. And I think it could be a step in the right direction. I'm not ready to convincingly say this team is ready to take a step towards where we expect them to be, but I think it's a really good point for them. The last two games, were they at home? The last two games?
Yes. They get another game.
Are they home again this week?
Yep.
So this is the thing. I want to see. They go to Nashville, not this week, but the weekend after. Want to see how they are against Nashville, right?
They're gonna get crushed.
I want to see how they are against Nashville. I want to see how they are on the road because that's a big thing. They've been able to win at home. They have 4. I think all 4 of their wins are at home, but it's a matter of what they can do on the road, and that'll be the interesting thing. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Atlanta, on the other hand, I do have some questions about. I'm worried. They look like a completely different team when they are missing a couple players. I mean, there's been talk, of course, about Thiago Almada and him possibly leaving in the summer. Obviously, there's been a contingency plan in place now. There's been a contingency plan in place now for the possibility of him leaving. The front office has come out and said that, but I do worry because whenever they're missing a player, like since they've been missing Giakoumakis, they have not been good. And it seems like whenever they're missing a player from their starting 11, they can't seem to be the level that they want to be. And of course, listen, you're missing big players. That's going to affect you. But to make deep runs in the playoffs and then win the MLS Cup, you need to have depth in your team. And I feel like Atlanta doesn't have that. And I feel like that is going to cost them. And who knows? I mean, the loss of Almada, that could be massive for them to the point where we're not talking about them in the top 4 anymore. We're talking about them in fighting for the 8th or the 9th spot in the playoffs. So for me, Atlanta, they need to figure something out because depth-wise, they're not very good right now, and it's costing them.
Yeah, Atlanta. If you're an Atlanta fan out there, all you, we are the A. All you, what's the other slogans that they? Anyway, Atlanta United, Vamos United, whatever you guys are using out there in the ATL. Yo, hit that panic button right now. Hit that panic button right now because I'm gonna hit you with some stuff right here that maybe we hadn't really thought of. Look, Atlanta's currently sitting in 4th, right? They got off to a hot start. Let's not forget, Almada had, I think, like 4 goals and 4 assists after like the first 2 games of the season. He's currently sitting at 5 goals and 5 assists after 9 matches. So he padded those stats early on in the season. Hasn't really, been lighting it up. So his stock, not as hot as it was a few weeks ago. Now, granted, it's still, there's the upside of him is really high, and there's, you're going to sell on that. But if that continues, it's going to make that price come down and down and down and down, and maybe not ideally what you wanted out of this whole situation. What you want is you want him to ball out. You want him to score a bunch of goals, do everything he can, lead you guys to wins, and then, let him go on his way and sell him and, cash in your money however you can. But right now, if you're Atlanta, that's a bad look. It's not looking like it's going to be a profitable return. Secondly, Atlanta, who's given up more goals than Atlanta in the East? Only one team. Atlanta's in 4th place, and they have the second worst goals for in the Eastern Conference. The only team that has more goals allowed than them is Charlotte, and Charlotte lost to Atlanta like 5-1 or 5-0?
3-0.
3-0 was it? Okay, so Take away that, they're pretty much sitting even right there, okay? Charlotte, Atlanta, I mean, for a team that's in 4th place that has, and they've scored a ton of goals, like we mentioned Kansas City with 5, Atlanta's got, 20 goals scored, but 18 conceded this season. There's no consistency. They're going to score goals. Almada's not scoring them. They're giving up a bunch of goals, and they're really, like, they've looked like a shell of themselves the last 2 games without Antetokounmpo. What's his name?
Giakoumakis, I think.
Without their Greek freak. Yeah, without their Greek freak in the lineup, they've looked like a whole nother squad. When he's in the lineup, he's got 5 goals in the last 5 starts that he has, right? So there's a big drop-off there. Big drop-off.
There's a little, I think the goals against is a little deceiving. The Columbus game where they lost 6-1, That's game true. They were missing like 8 players for the
true
non-mandatory FIFA window or whatever that MLS had or that teams had. So
That's a good
that
point.
game, a little bit of an outlier in terms of goals against. But, I mean, I think it's a fair point. I mean, if you look at their recent matches, lost to Inter Miami, lost to Nashville, lost to Memphis in the U.S. Open Cup. They beat Chicago, but probably shouldn't have beat Chicago because Chicago gave up a 98th minute, like an 8th minute of stoppage time goal. Tied Toronto, tied New York City, beat the Red Bulls 1-0, who they are not good, as we know, the Red Bulls. So it hasn't been pretty for a very long time now for Atlanta.
They've been riding that early season
goals.
success. They rode that early season success, and that's why I got them at 10th in the power rankings. And maybe I'm gonna reconsider now. Maybe I should have kicked them out.
Yeah, I mean they're not scoring a lot of goals. They're not playing good. Defensively they've been a little shambolic. So it's going to be interesting to see how they are the next. What?
That's a good word, shambolic. Sorry, just props to the word.
Yeah,
I like
it's a word that I think I'm using correctly. I'm not even sure.
I like it. I like it.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting because they are. It's going to be. They got to figure it out because they're a little bit of a mess right now. They're in a little bit of a slump.
Yeah.
They're in a little bit of a slump. Real quick, let's wrap it up here with the MLS section with a couple things. We'll start off with our standout performer of the week. You go ahead, sir.
My standout performer of the week is actually 45,112 standout performers of the week. That's the attendance at the LAFC San Jose game because they played at Levi Stadium. They played at the football stadium, which was fantastic. Hey, I mean, you're not going to fill up. It's hard to fill up an NFL stadium, when you don't play there every week, like Atlanta and Charlotte do. But to go out there, play, bring in LAFC, and pack the house like they did there at Levi Stadium, man, props to you, man. That's great. Continuing the great attendance that the league has been having all season long, and that's a big number, and it should not be understated. 45,112. That's a lot of people that came out there. So props to all of you, whether you're LAFC fans or San Jose fans, but to come out there, make some noise and cheer on your teams, man. That's what's up. That's my standout there.
My standout, it was hard to choose between these two players because they're both on fire right now. But I'm going to go with the guy who had the hat trick. We talked about him a little bit earlier, Hani Mukhtar.
Yeah.
He had a slow start to the season, but it seems like he's found his MVP form again. A hat trick. I think he's got, God, I don't even know how many he has in his last few games, but he was, unbelievable again this week. He's been good both with putting the ball in the back of the net as well as getting assists. This week, 2 penalty kick goals, but hey, you still have to put them in the back of the net. You still have to beat the goalkeeper.
Yep.
It's easier said than done. He has been a real nuisance. I think he had a couple assists last week, 3 goals this week. So my standout performer is Hani Mukhtar. A really good game, a dominant game against Chicago, and led to all 3 points. And now Nashville in 3rd place right now. So
yeah, that was going to be my
standout performer.
That was going to be my other one. That was going to be my other one. I was like, he's probably going to think I'm going to go Joseph. I was like, he's going to think I'm going to go Joseph.
I honestly thought you were.
100 goal. But we gave him enough praise in the show. I was like, no, I'm gonna shout out the fans. Shout out the fans. Hani was up there. I'm a big Hani fan. Hani. I like saying the name. I like
Hani.
Mukhtar. I like the whole vibe of it. I love his swag pregame. I like the vibe. I really would love to go. I know Nashville's like one of your favorite cities, right? Did you tell me that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go catch a game at Geodis Park or whatever it is.
Geodis Park. I would love to.
It looks like
too.
a fantastic time.
I'm going to Nashville a month from yesterday or 2 days ago. So I'm going down there, but I'm not going down there to catch a game. I'm going down there for the country music fest down there. So I won't be able to see one. Listen, I haven't caught a soccer game down there. I'm a Titans fan. I've been to a football game down there. So it's coming.
But you're going to go
eventually.
For country music? Come on, dude.
No,
you gotta do it. Just write it off as a work experience here, bro. Go out there and catch a game, man. At least, come on, man. If they're playing that weekend, you gotta go. If they are,
I don't even know. I don't even know if they're playing. They might. I mean, I'm sure they're playing, but they might not be playing that.
They're at home,
they
dude.
Might not be playing at home. Oof, they are at home. I think. Oh no, they're not. No, they're not. They're in Toronto. They're in Toronto. I'm off the hook.
You're off
I'm off the hook.
All right. Well, enjoy your.
I will enjoy my country music very much. No, yeah, but it's I have to get to a game down there. It looks like a great atmosphere.
I've been to
Great
one
stadium.
country music show, and I was forced there. It was
I'm
mandatory fun. It was mandatory fun in the Navy. We had Charlie Daniels perform when I was in boot camp. Super random.
Interesting.
Super random. That's my experience with country music.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
No,
I'm not the demographic.
Yeah, I love country music. I love going down there, listening to live music. They have rock and roll bars down there too, though. So
I can mess with that.
They got a Kid Rocks is a rock and roll bar. There's a couple other rock and roll bars.
All right.
Kid Rocks is the best bar. I could talk about this all day, but Kid Rocks is the best bar on the strip. Don't at me. So if you ever go down there, go to Kid Rocks. It's fun.
All right.
We do need to wrap it up with want to talk about our game of the upcoming week. Rivalry week this week. We got a lot of good ones. For me, my game of the week got to be the Hudson River Derby. Obviously, I think you guys know I'm a New York City FC fan. So obviously big for me personally. But that one's always fun. I think there's a lot of good storylines behind it. New York City FC has been better than a lot of people expected them to be, especially after the loss of so many of their players. The Red Bulls not as good as people expected them to be. They fired their coach. They go into this match maybe with a tiny new manager bump. I don't know. But something to prove to the new manager. And I think, it's always a good storyline. New York versus New York, or New York versus New Jersey in this specific case. But it's going to be a good one. I'm really excited for it. So that's why I'm going with the Hudson River Derby.
All right. Solid. So I was debating between a couple, but I'm making my decision. I am most excited about this week's upcoming games. I am going to stick with my low-key number 2 team, okay? They've always been there. And unlike you, I'm a real fan. I actually went to see my number 2 team play in person at at one of their 2 stadiums. I've been to Montreal. I've had delicious poutine, okay? Fantastic. And I've watched Montreal play.
No, I've been to Toronto.
See, I've been to Montreal, and I went to Olympic Stadium, home of the Montreal Expos, which was their original home in baseball. And I watched the season opener. I want to say 2016. I was at the MLS season opener. I went to watch Drogba play for Montreal, which I was really excited about. But then I find out when I get there that he doesn't play on turf games, and that's a turf stadium, so he didn't play. So yeah, I missed out on that, but I got to watch. I got to watch, and Montreal was a beautiful city, fantastic. I love it. So Montreal, big fan. Allez Montreal, and I am rooting for Montreal over Toronto this week, and that's the game I'm going to watch. Little Canadian Cup, little Canadian action. I'll make myself some poutine, put on my Impact Montreal jersey, and kick back and relax. Enjoy my Saturday night.
I got to get up to Montreal. I'm a Canadiens fan. I've never been to Montreal, so I got to get there.
Dude, I've seen the Canadiens play. Come on, I've been to
Montreal.
I've been to the Bell Center. Look at that.
I know.
Dude.
I haven't been to Montreal. I got to get there.
I went there wearing a Panthers jersey and survived, so it was all good.
They're friendly enough there, except for if you're from Toronto.
Super friendly. Yeah, and the Panthers weren't very threatening when I went there, so nobody gave me a hard time. But yeah, man. Love it. All right, so what do we got next? We got my favorite part of the show.
Oh, yeah, your favorite part of the show, Liga MX. We got to switch over to Liga MX. Bro. The playoffs are hot. We are hot. That is really the description of this.
The playoffs are hot. We are not. I like it.
We are not. That is our slogan for the Liga MX playoffs. Our picks were awful, as bad as they could possibly be. We got every single one wrong. Every single one.
I challenge anybody to be as bad as us. They can't.
Nobody legitimately cannot. So Cruz Azul lost this weekend. Sad.
Sorry,
lost
bro.
to Atlas 1-0. Just did not look. They were not. It wasn't great.
No.
And then on top of that, Tigres beat Puebla 1-0. Puebla had a penalty kick that they missed. So it could have been a different story, but they missed the penalty kick.
Oh, 1-3 was a lot better than 0-4. How do we pull that one?
It would have been a lot better than 0-4. San Luis beat Leon 3-1, which was a big one. Leon is now in the CONCACAF Champions League final now with LAFC. So they still have something to play for, but will not be playing for a Clausura title.
Mhm.
And then the big one, the one that we will talk about because it was the craziest game of the weekend, I think. Probably the craziest game across all leagues this past weekend. Pachuca loses to Santos Laguna, the team that wasn't even supposed to be there. The team that wasn't even supposed to be there. Lose to Santos Laguna on penalty kicks. There was now
It's all Lizzie's fault.
As Lizzie explained to us, there's no extra time in the playoffs, so they go directly to penalties. So
she explained that this was like the playoffs before the playoffs kind of thing. So that's why, like, technically,
it's like the play-in
now
game.
we're in
Yeah,
the playoffs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the playing games now. We
Repechaje,
go
I
to
think
the
was the word.
quarterfinals. We go to the quarter. Yes, you're right. What did you say the word was?
Repechaje, I think it was.
Yeah, repechaje or repechato or something. I don't know.
Repechaje. I think that's the word. I have to look it up
I think you're
later.
right.
Let's just go with it.
But this one was nuts. So our good friend Chicho Rango scored the penalty in the 7th minute to get things started off. Then Preciado, I think it is
Preciado.
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 He scored in the 11th minute. Roberto De La Rosa scored in the 14th minute, 3 minutes later. Felix Torres scored in the 26th minute for Santos Laguna to tie things back up at 2-2. Romario Ibarra scored in the 43rd minute. That's 5 goals in the first half, and the first half ended 3-2 in favor of Pachuca. Then Santos Laguna come out. Raul Lopez scores the game-tying goal in the 52nd minute. Then we have a break. There's a little bit of a break.
Finally.
We get to stoppage time. Exhale. Get to stoppage time. Eric Sanchez puts the ball in the back of the net in the 2nd minute of stoppage time. Everybody's like, okay, Pachuca wins. It's all over. In the 5th minute of stoppage time, Doria scores for Santos Laguna, gets it 4-4. They go to penalties. Santos Laguna win 4-2. Exhilarating game from end to end. I mean, Pachuca had 28 shots in this game, 10 of them on net, compared to Santos Laguna's 8 shots, 7 of which were on net. Pachuca controlled 57% of the possession. I mean, it was a wild game. I mean, anything to say on this one? I mean, anything more that needs to be said on this one? What were your thoughts on just the result of this? And I mean, just craziness. The Liga MX chaos that Lizzie tells us so much about.
Absolutely lived up to the hype. Absolute bonkers. But actually, looking back at it, we had 1, 2, 3 games that we picked that we lost by 1 goal. 1 goal turnaround, including one in the 5th minute of extra time. Another one where we had a missed penalty kick, and then your Cruz Azul lost 1-0. We could have been 3-1 here, bro, because the Leon game was the only one we actually lost.
Fine margins, and Atlas gave up. Atlas scored in the 2nd minute and didn't score the rest of the game.
Good grief!
Cruz Azul had 74% of the possession, couldn't score a goal at home.
Unbelievable. We should be 4-0. I take back our we don't know anything slogan, but we know that we came close. But heck of a game. Now we got our matchups are set. It's Santos versus Monterrey on the 10th, which would be tomorrow. Tomorrow we had Santos and Monterrey and San Luis and Club America. And then the following day, the 11th, we have Atlas versus Chivas, Toluca versus Tigres.
Yes, so now we move to the quarterfinals. Yes, I just want to mention again, like you said, Santos Laguna, great match. I mean, this is a team that, crazily enough, is just so up and down. I mean, they beat Monterrey, and they go and lose a couple games. They don't necessarily make the playoffs. They go and beat Pachuca in the play-in match. Now they're playing Monterrey again. Just craziness all around. But we move to the quarterfinals now. This now moves to 2 legs. So 2 legs, and then we go at the end of the 2nd leg. If it's tied on aggregate, go to extra time, penalty kicks, the whole 9 yards. Tomorrow's and Thursday's games are played at 9 and 11 respectively Eastern time, 9 and 11 p.m. So like you mentioned, Santos Laguna and Monterrey at 9 p.m., Club America, San Luis at 11 p.m. tomorrow. And then Thursday, it's Atlas and Guadalajara at 9 p.m. And Tigres Toluca at 11 p.m. Then the 2nd legs will then be played. This is not typical what we're used to. Normally there's a week between legs. 2nd legs will be played on Saturday with Monterrey and Santos Laguna at 9 p.m. Club America San Luis at 11:10 p.m. and
Wow.
11:16 p.m. And then on Sunday, Toluca takes on Tigres at 2 p.m. and Guadalajara takes on Atlas at 9 p.m. So
no excuses.
Both legs will be played this week. We will know who is in the semifinals by the end of this week.
We get to make picks again next week.
we gotta make picks again next week. We gotta make picks again. So with that said, your pick for this week. Let's start with Santos, Laguna, and Monterrey. I mean, we got to hit one, right? We got to hit one. So Santos, right. Laguna, Monterrey. Who you got?
Let's see. Let me get my little trusty notepad here again. Let's see. Geno.
This is across both legs.
Yeah, just winning, advancing. Correct. I'm gonna go in the first one. You know what? Screw you, Santos. Pachuca was my squad. I've been a loyal fan for all of like how many weeks have we been doing this? Like, something like that. I've been a loyal fan of Pachuca for a very long time here, and Santos comes in and just messes up my whole plan of fandom here. So I'm going with Monterrey. Me and my entire 4 weeks of fandom.
Gotcha. Yes. So I am.
You're going Santos. I know you.
No, the buck stops here at Santos. It's going Monterrey. I'm going Monterrey. I think that's what we get. It is a real shame, honestly. It's a real shame how this all worked out, right? So
it's a phony playoff team.
I think if you look at how it's going to play out, I don't think we ideally, in an ideal world, we would get Monterrey versus Tigres in one semifinal, and Chivas versus Club America in another semifinal. Both rivalry matches. That would be awesome. I don't know if that's how the actual brackets work out, but that would be very cool. But I'm going with Monterrey in this one. I just think the luck's got to run out somewhere for Santos, and I think it's now. So I'm going Monterrey. The next match, Club America versus San Luis.
San Luis, you screwed me once. You will not screw me again. Let's go. Club America.
Yeah, I'm going Club America, as I think is very well known. Club America is the team that I will win it all. So I'm going Club America. That would be against.
Here we go. We're going to be 0-2 already. Let's see. What about the next game?
Already. Tigres, Toluca.
Tigres, Toluca. Again, I went with the upset last week with Puebla. I don't know if it's an upset if Toluca wins, but I'm going against Tigres again. I'm sticking with my anti-Tigres pick here, so I'll go Toluca. How about that? What about you?
It's like this is the problem. I want to pick an upset, and I want to pick Tigres. I do.
I do want to pick Tigres. Higher. I don't know.
I'll give you the seeds. The seeds for this matchup. Obviously, you know that 1 and 2 are Monterrey and Club America.
Yeah.
The seeds for this matchup are Toluca's 4 and Tigres is 7.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I feel good then. Toluca. I'm going with the favorite.
I love Toluca. I really do. They're like my second team. Like, I really love Toluca. I've watched them a couple times, and they're just a lot of fun. They play really, really good soccer. Okay. So I'm going with Tigres.
Oh, we finally
I'm going with Tigres because I want my Tigres is going to win. Tigres is going to win.
One of us is going to win a game this week, at least, because we finally have a pick. One of us is finally going to have a win this week because we finally have a different pick. Okay.
Yes, one of us is going to win. Exactly, one of us is going to win.
Nice.
And then, but I want Tigres Monterrey in the semifinal. I want Chivas Club America in the other semifinal. So that's what I'm going with. That's how I'm doing it.
Right.
And then the final one is Chivas versus Atlas. Sorry, just going through it in my head. Final one is Chivas versus. Am I right with that?
Yeah. Chivas Atlas.
Versus Atlas. And that's the final match. Who do you have in that one? I'm going Chivas, as you know, so we can already mark that down. Who do you have?
I'm sticking with all favorites. I got to win a game this week, so I'm going with Chivas too. Now that you told me the favorites, that's who I'm going with. So I'm gonna get at least one.
Yeah, I mean, I like Atlas is another great team. I like Quino. I think it's Quinones on their team.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of their starting strikers. I think he is a lot of fun. I really like him. Yeah, Quinones. So Atlas is a fun watch as well. But yeah, I'm going with Chivas. I don't know how this works out. I don't know how I get. I don't think I can get Chivas versus Club America and Monterrey versus Tigres, but that's what I'm hoping for. If there's any way, I want it to happen.
We'll see. But at least one of us is gonna win a game this week. We have the difference.
One of us is definitely winning a game this week, which is good. I did not do that on purpose. Do that on purpose.
Which is good. I respect, because I mean, one of us is gonna be 0-4, and the other one's gonna be 1-3. So we'll see who's who.
One of us, yeah, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad either way. So, man, I don't know. Honestly, this is gonna be. I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We'll see. We'll see how it all works out. But it's gonna be a very interesting weekend. I mean, the games tomorrow. We have U.S. Open Cups games in midweek. We've got we got Liga MX playoffs midweek. I mean, nobody's even talking about the Champions League match for UEFA Champions League between Real Madrid and Man City. I mean, nobody even cares about that because Liga MX is playing and the U.S. Open Cup's playing.
Exactly. So,
I mean, not a single person cares.
I'm not going to go watch that today. Who watches that?
I'm not watching it on my computer. No, but no, we do get some good midweek action, which is always a lot of fun. It always gives you something to do.
A lot of footy. A lot of good footy this week.
Something to do. So keep an eye on that for reference. All these games will be on TV. I think all these playoff games will be on TV. If you want to watch U.S. Open Cup, go to the U.S. Open Cup Twitter page. They have all the breaking down there. It's all like apps and YouTube. I think the only game that's going to be on a network tonight is the Golasso Show network, which is the new CBS network for soccer or whatever. That's the only one that is on television, I think. So keep an eye out for that. But I think that about wraps up. You got anything else you want to hit on?
No, I'm good. I'm hoping Inter Miami win. I hope I get a win in these picks in Liga MX, and let's just have a great week, man. It's a lot of fun, and looking forward to next week already.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to these games this weekend. I mean, you get rivalry. There's just so much. There's so much to consume. But to everybody out there, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Please follow us on our social accounts, which are listed on the bottom here for Instagram and Twitter. We also have a TikTok, so check us out there. Check out our YouTube page if you're not already on it and you're watching this somewhere else. I don't know how you'd be able to do that, but if that's possible, then check us out there.
Internet's a fascinating place.
Big announcement, actually. Good thing I remember this. We are going to go audio. We are going to have audio soon. We are officially set up. So as soon as I get things sorted out, we will have audio. So we'll bring that to you.
Nice.
So just another place you can listen to us. If you're not wanting to watch us, you want to listen in the car.
Can't wait.
You can do that shortly. Again, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. What'd you say?
Will this episode be audio or no? Do you know?
Yeah, it should be. It should be maybe not right away, but it will be uploaded within the week, I believe. So
awesome.
So yes, keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys again for watching, for staying with us and listening to us banter back and forth. To all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mama's Day.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys next time.
Adios.
Peace.